This is our story, and it started with one yes. I was just an ordinary high school guy, and I had been changed by God's grace and Jesus' love. And my heart was broken for my teammates who were far from God. There was no local church that seemed relatable or easy to access for them. And I prayed and I said, God, if you could ever use me to start a church that would reach people like my friends, my answer is going to be yes.
Well, Andy and I met our freshman year of college, and eventually I said yes to him.
Best decision she ever made.
So we began to pray and seek God and just say, God, where in the world would you lead us?
Silicon Valley met every criteria. It was a region that was reaching people all over the world through groundbreaking technology. It was shaping culture and influencing people really in every corner of the globe.
It can be done here, they warned us. Silicon Valley is a graveyard for church planters. They said it's too expensive, it's too diverse, too liberal, too transient. The darkness here is too great.
But then we started sensing God saying to us, I want you to see things differently. I want you to see with eyes of faith. In fact, you're not a grasshopper. You're not one of the 10 spies. You are a Joshua and a Caleb.
It's not too expensive. It's full of some of the world's most influential people. It's not too diverse. Every region in the world is represented here.
It's not too transient. In fact, the Holy Spirit only needs one moment to change somebody's life.
It's not too dark. It's desperate for the light of the world.
He said, my kingdom is advancing and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. And I'm at work in people's hearts here. The real question is, do you have the faith to join me?
We decided we wouldn't insult God with small dreams and safe living. We would see these obstacles as opportunities for our God to do great things.
But a dream this big could not be accomplished alone. It would take a team of people who said yes. And the ask would not be small. Would you be willing to move from the East Coast to the West Coast? Would you leave your friends and family and sell your house and your possessions? Oh, by the way, would you be willing to raise your own salary with no guarantee of future security? And would you risk everything familiar and have the audacity to believe God for a movement of His hand in Silicon Valley?
It started with a yes.
We sensed God leading us to be a part of this vision. So we moved here to love and to serve our city.
We decided early on that we wanted to be a church that was known for what we were for rather than what we were against. We want the love of Jesus to echo out from our lives and from the life of this church.
Soon after we moved here, we began the journey of meeting as many people as we could. We served at city events, we hosted cookouts, and we walked 1,000 miles passing out door hangers and praying over our neighborhoods.
We said, God, if you could use us to start a church for people who are far from you, our answer is yes.
On November 16, 2008, right here, 175 people walked to the doors of Dawn College School to celebrate our first public service.
And 285 people joined us for our grand opening in February. We believe the Spirit of God was on the move in the Silicon Valley, and South Bay Church wanted to be on the front lines.
Our first baptism took place in a glorified horse trough. You think it takes bold faith to step into a modern-day, temperature-controlled baptism pool? Try a horse trough with water from a hose.
One after another, they went into the water. Tiana, Jason Petit, Jennifer Spafford, 17 stories of God's relentless pursuit, surrendering control, receiving forgiveness, and finding freedom.
We started each Sunday at 6 a.m. by setting up chairs, a sound system, and lights. We hung pipe and drape, taped wires, put out signs, and set up diaper changing stations.
This church was built on the backs of people who say we will not be consumers, we will be contributors to a purpose greater than ourselves. This church was built on a dream team that kept saying yes to God.
In 2012, God opened the door of an old banquet hall that was shut down by the city for drug use and inappropriate activity.
Our dream team worked around the clock, transforming this banquet hall into a house of worship.
In February of 2014, we launched our second campus in the Sunnyvale Community Center. On that day, South Bay became one church in multiple locations. 2 years later, we celebrated the grand opening of our South San Jose campus.
And during the fall of 2016, a series of miracles led to the purchase of our Sunnyvale building. We had 52 days to raise $500,000. It seemed impossible, but the people of South Bay said yes to the opportunity to have bold faith.
Families delayed vacations and home renovations to be able to give more. People worked around the clock, tearing down walls, hanging screens, and building a stage. Then, on Christmas Eve of 2016, with paint still literally wet on the walls, South Bay held our first service in that miracle building.
So this is our story after nearly a decade of saying yes to God.
We exist so that people who are far from God can say yes to Jesus and passionately follow Him.
We exist for the unchurched, the de-churched, the agnostic, skeptic, and the irreligious.
This is a place where the broken, the isolated, and the sinner stand on level ground at the foot of the cross.
We will do whatever it takes to reach people who are far from God.
We will sacrifice our comfort and convenience in order to make one more seat at the table.
We will give until it hurts to make the good news accessible to all these hearts around us.
When you cut us, we will bleed bold faith because we refuse to insult God with small dreams and safe living.
Anything you ask of us, God.
Anything.
Anything you ask of us, you have our resounding yes.
This is our story. This is our story.